Back to the... What was that? I just saw something move down there.
I was looking up, like,
right down there, right?
Yeah, between the two trees. What is that? What is that? Oh! What is that? Oh my God!
The night was quiet until it wasn't. Tonight we follow a terrifying midnight encounter where campers faced something massive in the shadows. In this video, we'll uncover Bigfoot close encounters, real evidence from the forest, eerie wood knocks, haunted growls, and unexplained movements. From chilling footsteps to trails that tell a story, every sound hints at a presence watching from the darkness. Watch closely. This night may change how you see the woods forever.
Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
My dog went flying through the air over the tree. I don't know how it did it.
Okay.
It all begins with a phone call. A man, his voice uneasy, reports that his dog has been killed by something unknown. Squatch Mafia captured this chilling moment, showing the line going quiet, followed by faint but haunting vocalizations.
Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
My dog went flying through the air over the tree. I don't know how it did it.
Okay.
Deep, unsettling sounds not easily placed in the natural world. He can't explain the cause, only that the animal was left lifeless, as if attacked by a predator no one could identify. The video that follows is just as unnerving. Filmed from a distance, the recorder stays hidden deep in the forest, pointing their camera far ahead. What comes into view is a towering figure, dark and broad, bending down to hold the unmistakable body of a deer. Slung over its shoulder, the carcass hangs limp, carried with effortless strength. The witness never moves closer, but even from afar, it's clear this isn't a hunter, and it's no ordinary man. The way the animal is handled, as if it weighed almost nothing, speaks to a power that few creatures could possess. When the footage is shown again in an enhanced version, the outline sharpens. Long arms, a heavy stride, and a form that matches the descriptions given in countless Bigfoot encounters. What makes this clip even more disturbing is what it suggests. If Bigfoot is truly hunting, taking down deer in the depths of the forest, then it isn't just a shy legend hiding from people. It's a predator, and a capable one at that, which leaves us with a chilling thought. If the creature can hunt so silently and carry away its kill so effortlessly, how many more times has it gone unseen, watching from just beyond the trees? There's a quiet mystery hidden in the vast forests and rugged landscapes of Australia. Few people know that this continent has its own version of Bigfoot, called the Yowie. For centuries, Indigenous Australians have shared stories of a large, hairy creature moving silently through the bush, both feared and respected. These stories are not just tales, they are part of a rich cultural history that stretches back thousands of years. Aboriginal tribes have their own names for the Yowie. In New South Wales, it is called the Dagal. In Queensland, some refer to it as Jima or Changara. Far in the north, the Kuku Yalanji speak of the Quinin, a large, hairy being living in the dense rainforest. Across these stories, there is a pattern. The Yowie is often described as strong, bipedal, and intelligent, yet careful to avoid humans unless threatened. This consistency makes you wonder, could there be something more than just myth lurking in Australia's wilderness? European settlers began encountering strange figures as they explored the bush in the 1800s. Reports of wild men, or hairy creatures, matched the indigenous stories in many details. One of the earliest recorded encounters came in 1842 near what is now Sydney, when settlers saw a tall, dark, human-like figure moving through the trees. Later, naturalists like Henry James McCooey in 1876 described the yowie in careful detail, noting it was neither a gorilla nor an orangutan, but something entirely unknown. These early accounts laid the foundation for the mystery that has continued for generations. Ancient rock art adds another layer to this story. Some of Australia's oldest petroglyphs show large, upright creatures with long arms, thick hair, and human-like features. Found in New South Wales and elsewhere, these images are over 5,000 years old. Elders say these carvings capture encounters their ancestors had with the yowie, blending both spiritual and physical understanding. It's fascinating to imagine that people centuries ago were documenting something that may still roam these forests today. In modern times, sightings have continued. From 20th century encounters by soldiers and prospector Charles Harper, to video and thermal footage captured as recently as the 2000s, the evidence is intriguing. Researchers like Rex Gilroy and Dean Harrison have spent decades collecting eyewitness accounts, footprints, and images, building a detailed picture of this elusive creature. Footprints found in Queensland, some over 16 inches long, show features consistent with a living primate, rather than any known Australian animal. Even skeptics struggle to explain all the reports together. What makes the yowie so captivating is the combination of history, culture, and first-hand observation. From children being chased in Springbrook to park rangers spotting massive figures in the distance, the stories continue to emerge. Each report adds a thread to a tapestry that stretches across centuries. Could there really be an undiscovered primate wandering Australia's remote forests? The evidence is compelling enough to keep both researchers and curious explorers asking questions. The yowie remains one of the world's most mysterious cryptids. Its story is part legend, part science, and part the deep, quiet wilderness itself. While we may never have all the answers, the combination of indigenous lore, historical accounts, footprints, and modern footage makes it hard to ignore. Perhaps one day, new technology or patient observation will reveal what has remained hidden for so long. Until then, the yowie stands as a reminder that the world still holds secrets waiting to be discovered. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to walk through an Australian forest, knowing something large and unseen is nearby? Could these stories be more than myth? Or is it all imagination? Share your thoughts and experiences, and let's keep exploring the mysteries of our world together. Some sightings are brief and fleeting, can be shadows in the woods or a shadow crossing a trail, but others come with layers, emotional testimony, physical prints or videos, ancient landscapes, and even something stranger. That's exactly what unfolds in the 2025 documentary-style video, Bigfoot, Our Experience in the Land of Giants. What begins as a typical roadside sighting spirals into an intense investigation of tracks, stone ruins, and possibly supernatural energy.
This is the corner. I had drawn a picture and I thought originally it was this first break in the guardrail right here, but now I know that it was actually this break in the guardrail right here.
The journey begins with a young woman named Destiny, along with her 3-year-old daughter Gracie, returning to the same spot where Destiny had her Bigfoot encounter west of Spokane, Washington. She recalls it being 3 in the morning. We came around this curve, and right at the second break in the guardrail, it stepped up. What Destiny describes is no blurry memory.
I'm Destiny Furrow. I am 22 years of age. This is Gracelyn Rose. She's my 3-year-old. Say hi. And this is the spot where I saw Bigfoot walk. Come here, Gracie. Come hold my hand, baby. Put it on your other hand. Put it in your other hand. This is the spot where we saw Bigfoot walk up. We're gonna see if we can see any prints. Just looking right here, it already looks like we see a print right here.
She saw the creatures walk, one step onto the shoulder, another to cross, and then it disappeared into the tree line. Moving by her memory and raw adrenaline, she goes back on her steps in daylight. Accompanied by her child and a camera, she documents the location with surprising clarity. Exactly where him, and what unfolded. Soon she begins pointing out tracks. Not one or two, but many large prints, clearly visible in the dirt.
Okay, stop. Don't walk around on this stuff. I want to look around. You saw him right here? Oh, yeah. I see him right off the bat. I see these big prints. Look at this. Oh, yeah. Gosh, that one's almost. There's another one right here.
They locate the prints, one after the other, that continue uphill, tracing a path that supports her story step by step. But the mystery doesn't end with the footprints. The documentary goes further into the surrounding landscape. The same videographer begins exploring Red Lake, an area long suspected of spiritual and cryptid activity.
Here, he stepped here, he stepped here, he stepped there.
What they find, though, lands on ancient and otherworldly. Huge stone formations that seem it is carved, not random. Some appear to resemble wings, others seem like remains of statues. They begin measuring, matching broken pieces, and drawing out the outline of what they believe to be a two-headed eagle sculpture.
So I think that this piece slid up. The head sat at that end, and it sat right between them, right there. Okay, so let's measure this piece out. I want to see how tall it is. Okay, it's 39 by the edge. 39 by, go that way a little more. Probably 39 by 24.
A remnant of some forgotten civilization. Then the narrative takes a surreal turn. As they meditate and perform spiritual cleansing rituals near the lake, strange energy is felt. They throw organite crystals into the water, and what happens next is hard to believe.
Yeah, now see along this here? See how some of these stones are just huge? And when we get around that corner over there, they all start looking like they're fitted into place.
Huh.
See there at the top right there?
They seem like they're perfectly...
Some beveled stones.
Yeah.
Let's go check those out.
The crystal started spinning across the lake, forming a whirlpool with a very centered vortex. To skeptics, this might all sound far-fetched. Stone wings, energy fields, lake spirits. But within the context of Bigfoot lore, it isn't new. Native Spokane legends spoke of giants who lived west of the city, beings who grew in stone shelters or traveled between worlds. The team believes they've found one such shelter, which is possibly an underground home of a Bigfoot clan.
Some sort, double-headed eagle.
What's your read on the energies around here?
Seems like double-headed eagle. Now who would, now we can pick up on that. This gotta be structure.
Look over there across the river. Do you see that structure over there across the river? It looks like maybe an old staircase or something over there. Yeah.
Nestled in a landscape shaped by both nature and something even bigger. What makes this footage so interesting isn't just the print evidence or wild theories, it's the sincerity. It's the father filming to preserve his daughter's memory. It's the young mother tracing her fear and wonder. It's the connection to land, mythologies, lore, and legacy. Whether you believe in Bigfoot as a flesh and blood creature, a myth, a spirit walker, or simply a mystery which has not been solved, this encounter in the land of giants will stay with you long after the video ends. Ontario, Canada is a place where beautiful lakes stretch endlessly into dense forests, and where the wild remains very much untouched. It's also a region talked about in stories. Stories of towering, interesting beings lurking the woods. And on one quiet day, those stories gained another chapter, but this time captured on camera by a group of unsuspecting boaters.
There has been a lot of Bigfoot activity in Ontario, Canada recently, and there is also a long history of Bigfoot sightings in this wild, remote area. Recently, we have seen a lot of photos and videos of Bigfoot in the area.
The video begins like any peaceful outing on the water. The boaters drift swiftly near the edge of the shoreline, surrounded by thick vegetation and calm, still water. Suddenly, something disrupts the natural vibes of the scene. A movement, very subtle yet distinct, draws their attention toward the land. A figure appears, partially hidden by brush and trees. At first sight, it's almost impossible to spot, but once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Here is one of the latest Bigfoot sightings captured by some boaters. I'll play it through and then I'll zoom in on the subject and then play it again at full speed and then slow it down so that we can get a better look at the Sasquatch-like subject on video.
Soon the video zooms in on the subject. Even with closer inspection, the creature's coloring perfectly matches the undergrowth of its surroundings. It is a deep, earthy brown that blends seamlessly with the surrounding foliage. It's a natural camouflage. If it had crouched or lain down, it likely would have vanished from sight entirely. This isn't just about hiding, it's about being a part of the environment. But perhaps the most intriguing part isn't just how well it hides, but it's how it moves.
It appears the boaters are going closer to land to get a better look at what they just saw. When I replay this again, I want you to notice the camouflage color of the Bigfoot. The grass and the foliage on the ground, it's nearly the same color. Here's the original again. I'm going to play it forward and backwards for you, and then I'm going to zoom in on it.
The footage plays in slow motion. The creature's gait is smooth, steady, and surprisingly fluid. It doesn't slip or stumble like someone clumsily navigating the brush. It walks with ease, like it's done this countless times before. That fluidity, the narrator notes, bears an uncanny resemblance to the legendary Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot, which is known as Patty, filmed back in 1967. If this were a drama, it was well rehearsed. The posture, the mobility, even the timing feels too natural to be accidental, and yet the video leaves just enough hidden to keep the debate alive. Could it be a person in a suit? A smart prank? Possibly. But the way it mirrors the natural textures and hues of the terrain raises more questions than answers.
It just looks like Bigfoot. I think it walks really fluidly. If someone set this up, it looks like they would have practiced because the fluidity that it moves reminds me of Patty. I hope you guys enjoyed a look at a North Ontario Bigfoot-like creature. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.
The narrator remains cautious. He doesn't definitively say it's Bigfoot, but he doesn't ignore it either. Instead, he presents the evidence, the replays, and the curious visual details, leaving us to make our own conclusions. What's clear is this: something was there. Something tall, camouflaged, and walking like it knew the land well. As the video comes to an end, we're reminded of the reason people keep the cameras rolling and the eyes open.
That thing is the same color as the undergrowth. If it laid down, you probably would not be able to see it unless you knew it was there. Just amazing camouflage, great color for the environment. I'm going to play the normal clip again and then the zoomed and the slowed again so that you guys can check out the subject. I'm not saying it's Bigfoot.
In the vast wilderness of Ontario, the search for answers continues. And for the rest of us, the next time you're out on the water, take a second look at that shore. You might not be alone. Some nights in the forest feel different. The air feels heavier, the shadows stretch farther, and even the firelight doesn't chase away the dark. On this night, Angelo and his friends camp deep in the woods, far from towns, far from safety. They came here to relax, but the forest had other plans. It starts quickly, almost too soon.
Yeah, we're pretty well out here in the bush. I am meeting up with a friend of mine, and we're going to be camping. We're camping in an area known for Bigfoot, paranormal stuff, all sorts of interesting things, and apparently it's pretty scenic. So far driving out here, there's, not a lot of cell service. It kind of cuts in and out. Apparently once we get in there, our cell service is, for the most part, pretty shot.
As the group sets up near the lake, one of them points across the trees. A dark shape moves where no person should be. It walks upright, tall and heavy, slipping between the trunks. For a moment it almost looks like a man, but the stride is longer, the frame broader. Angela whispers that it's not a bear. It looks more like an ape. The sight leaves them quiet, wondering if their night has only just begun.
I just saw something on the other side.
Where?
Over there.
Whoa. Yeah, you can see it walking out of there.
Yeah. Wow.
It looks...
That is not a bear.
No, not at all. But it also looks like an...
The hours pass with unease. Laughter fades, replaced by listening. Then, from across the still water, a sound rises. It is not the cry of a bird, not the splash of a fish. It is a grunt, deep and drawn out, carried by the night air. The friends exchange nervous looks. Some say it could be a bobcat, but the weight of the sound feels larger, heavier, as though something hidden is calling from the other side. As the fire burns lower, another disturbance shakes them. From deep in the trees comes a rhythm, sharp and deliberate. Wood on wood, echoing through the darkness. Not once, but again and again, like a signal meant to travel. The sound doesn't belong to the wind. It doesn't belong to chance. In Bigfoot research, this is called knocking, a way of sending messages. Here in the still forest, it feels less like research and more like a warning.
For a second, I thought I saw eyes. Okay. What was that?
Like that cat sound kind of thing?
Apparently bobcats have been spotted in Ontario recently.
Really?
Yeah, like no joke. Apparently they're around.
What about mountain lions? Are there any?
That's the same thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No, bobcats are different.
It's essentially the same thing.
They're small.
Same concept anyways. Mountain lions probably not. Yeah, probably more like cougars, bobcats.
But there is
But-
fishers.
Either way, they're dangerous,
Oh,
so...
yeah, I like cougars.
Okay. Did you find one?
They try to calm themselves, but the forest grows bolder. A crash tears through the night, like something heavy snapping branches or shoving a tree aside. The ground trembles faintly beneath their feet. Angelo and the others freeze, eyes wide toward the tree line. Whatever made the sound is large, strong, and close. In that moment, the fire seems too small, the woods too endless. By now, the group knows they are not alone. Shapes seem to flicker at the edge of the trees. Sounds move where the light cannot reach. One of them swears they see glowing eyes, shining faintly, then vanishing. Another hears a low moan drifting across the peninsula. Fear grows, but so does wonder. Could this really be the creature they've heard about for years?
Like I can actually see like a long neck. I don't know if it's like the light's playing tricks on my eyes, but I see something up there.
Hey, you can see a lot of things came through here too.
Oh, guys, no, seriously.
Oh.
Look, shine your light up there. Shine your bright flashlight deep up there if you can. Is it my eyes playing tricks on me? Because I see it moving. Yeah, there. See, now it's kind of gotten dim because the tree's in the way.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell.
The night does not give them a clear look, only signs. Movement in the brush, grunts in the distance, knocks that carry meaning. And yet these pieces feel enough to raise the old question. Is Bigfoot only a story, or does it walk these woods when the night is deep enough? Sometimes the answers don't come in full. Sometimes they come in fragments, in sounds, in glimpses that leave the heart racing. And maybe that's the way the forest wants it, to remind us that mystery still exists, waiting just beyond the firelight.
Or it was actually Bigfoot. But we heard a grunt, we heard some sticks, and I freaking saw the thing.
Wow.
Let's go to my laptop right away.
Okay.
All right, so you're saying you saw something somewhere down there? I'm using an infrared camera.
Yeah, let's fill it with the infrared.
Infrared. Sorry, I don't know why I call it infrared.
You mean the infrared?
Infrared.
Well, dude, your flashlight is so bright.
So what do you think Angelo's group experienced? Was it wildlife at its loudest, or something much bigger watching from the shadows? The Rocky Mountain states are no stranger to tales of Bigfoot, but few stories carry the raw detail and emotional weight of the Oxford Peak encounter. It was Labor Day weekend, 1980, when prospector Clint Josephson and his friend Brian Belknap set out on what they thought would be an ordinary day of gold prospecting. Instead, they came face to face with something that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Their morning began like so many before it, saddling up their horses, packing their gear, and setting out on the 4-mile trek up the mountain. The two men were after gold that day, hoping to turn their hard work into a few dollars. But almost immediately, they noticed something was wrong. The first sign came from their horses. Normally calm and obedient, the animals were unusually skittish, shying away from the trail and tossing their heads nervously. Then came the sound that made both men freeze. An eerie, guttural scream echoing from somewhere up ahead. It wasn't human, it wasn't an elk, and it wasn't any animal they knew. When they reached a clearing, the scene that greeted them was even stranger. There had been 8 to 10 massive logs lying across the ground, each one between 25 and 30 feet long.
When we got to here, there had been about 8 to 10 logs, probably 25 to 30 feet long, maybe a little longer than that. But they were all laying in one direction.
Now the logs were gone, or rather, they had been shredded, pulverized into sawdust and splinters. At first, we thought a bear must have been grubbing for insects, Clint later recalled. But the destruction was so complete, so violent, it didn't look like bear work. It looked like something far stronger had been through there. Even stranger, their horses refused to go forward, while Clint's young colt tossed his head and tried to turn back down the mountain. Whatever had done this, the animals wanted no part of it.
When we got here, the logs no longer existed. They were just pulverized. They'd just been shredded. And we took it for granted that a bunch of bears or a bear had been in here and grubbing the grubs out of these logs, because they were just shredded, just tore to pieces. And it was just like sawdust all over the ground. And we tried and tried and tried to even get off the horses and lead them through to get over to the trail that goes up the hillside over here.
Still determined to find gold, Clint and Brian pressed on. By midday, Clint was panning in the creek while Brian collected tailings a short distance away. That's when Brian saw something moving high on the mountain slope. A dark figure, large and upright, striding across the hillside. Before he could get a clear look, it vanished into the trees. Brian ran back toward Clint and shouted down to him, "Let's get the hell out of here." Clint grabbed his gear and began loading it onto the horses. Brian, less experienced on horseback, took the calmer mare. Then, as Clint bent to adjust his gear, he felt it, the unmistakable sensation that he was being watched. He turned to look over his shoulder, and that's when he saw it. Striding down the open area toward him was a massive, hair-covered figure. Its long arms swung at its sides as it walked. Clint could make out details: a burr stuck in the hair on its chest, a smear of something dark across its face, blood perhaps, or juice from wild berries.
Like something was looking at me. I turned and looked over my shoulder, and as I did, coming right down this open area right here where these deadfall are now, is where I saw Bigfoot. Anyhow, he came towards me. As he got closer, I could see that he had that burr stuck in his hair on his chest. He had a smear of something on his face, whether it was blood or could have been fruit or anything that they'd been eating around this area.
"I just froze," Clint admitted. "I sat there on my horse, staring. I couldn't move." The creature kept coming, closing the distance between them. At about 20 feet away, the smell hit him, a foul, putrid stench that turned his stomach. The horse smelled it too, and that was enough to snap both man and animal out of their shock. Clint shouted to Brian, "We've got to get out of here!"
And I was in shock and just sat there and watched him for quite a while. I don't know how long, but long enough for him to get fairly close. And I finally was yanking on my horse and kicking him, trying to make him go. And as he got within about 20 feet of me, the horse apparently smelled him. And that's about the same time I smelled him. And it was a very putrid odor. And the horse didn't bother him to raise his head. He just took a lunge and went across the creek.
But that was enough to know something serious had happened. Clint's face was pale, his expression stricken. Whatever he had seen, it had shaken him to the core. The two men didn't look back. They rode hard down the mountain, their horses almost out of control, not stopping until they reached the safety of the trailhead. For Clint, the experience left no room for doubt. "People can believe what they want," he said. "But I know what I saw. That thing was real. It wasn't a man. It wasn't a bear. It was Bigfoot."
Those people that are disbelievers, I would just say, you know, you can have your beliefs. That's up to you. What I saw is when I saw Bigfoot.
Even years later, revisiting the site of the encounter, Clint can point to the exact place it stood, and where he looked directly at something that science still refuses to acknowledge. The Oxford Peak sighting remains one of southeastern Idaho's most compelling Bigfoot encounters. The pulverized logs, the terrified horses, the strange scream, all pieces of a puzzle that hint at something far more powerful, far more intelligent, lurking in those remote mountains. And somewhere out there, perhaps still near Oxford Peak, that creature may be watching, waiting for the next prospector to cross its path. Out near Mount Hood, the forest feels quietly alive. The air is damp, carrying soft whispers from the trees and the steady sound of a nearby creek. Today, the team is setting up a circle of trail cameras around base camp. One camera is placed by the creek, because if animals are drawn to water, maybe something larger is too. The forest feels patient, almost watching. Each tree seems to hold a secret.
All right, there's one of our base camp game cameras, kind of using this tree next to it to help shield and hide it from two animal trails that merge right here. It's obvious the animals are coming to the creek to drink near base camp, so we'll keep an eye on that.
As the cameras are placed, the team moves carefully, respecting the woods. The trail is soft and muddy, perfect for footprints. In a swampy area, impressions start to appear. Some are small and familiar, others larger, deeper, and mysterious. A spot shows signs that something heavy rested here recently, leaving the soil pressed down and leaves scattered. Even the smell of skunk cabbage reminds us how alive this forest is.
In this real swampy area, looking for Bigfoot tracks, because the normal forest ground, it just don't show up as well, but they step in something like that. Well, something bedded down right here. More things right there. That smells like skunk cabbage.
Tracking takes patience. Large paw prints appear, clearly from a bear, claws visible, weight evident in the depth. But bears and Bigfoot often share spaces, drawn to water and food. Nearby, a giant front paw imprint confirms a black bear passed here. Yet the team knows this is only part of the forest story. Each footprint tells of life moving quietly, hidden and careful. Deeper in the woods, clusters of broken branches and root balls catch attention. The forest keeps its secrets well, blending nature and mystery in every step. Giant trees tower overhead, their shadows shifting with the wind.
Well, I get excited when I find bear tracks, because Bigfoot and bear are after the same thing, and a lot of times we find their tracks in the same areas. There's a giant one right there, Jen. Look at that giant tree. just massive. I mean, it's surrounded by big trees, but he's a giant.
Observing the forest is about learning its rhythms as much as searching for the unknown. Each bear track, each broken branch, each subtle shift in shadows is part of the story. Perhaps one day we'll see more clearly what roams here. Until then, the forest quietly teaches patience, respect, and wonder. The day ends, but the forest continues its rhythm. Cameras click silently, water flows steadily, and the woods remain alive with movement. Every footprint, every branch, every shift in shadow is a reminder that nature's story is never fully told. The forest invites curiosity, respect, and reflection, leaving the mystery of its hidden life both compelling and real. Some answers may come, but the quiet wonder of this forest will endure. Location: North Carolina. The forests of North Carolina have always carried a quiet, watchful feeling. The kind that makes you look over your shoulder even when you know you're alone. For 3 North Carolinians, that feeling became much more than just nerves. Their encounters with something massive, intelligent, and terrifying are enough to shake even the most skeptical mind. Tim Wheeler is a self-proclaimed mountain man. Tough, experienced, and used to the sounds of the wild. But the night he came face to face with a creature he believes was Bigfoot, he admits it shook him to his core. He was out calling coyotes, something he'd done countless times before. The sun had dipped behind the trees, leaving just enough light to see the outline of his property. At first, he thought he had succeeded. He could hear movement, branches breaking. But what stepped out of the tree line wasn't a coyote.
This thing was 10 foot tall. He had beautiful hair. It scared me.
This thing was 10 feet tall, Tim recalls, his voice still trembling years later. It had beautiful hair, but it scared me to death. When the creature went after his dogs, Tim grabbed his gun and ran outside. I hollered at it, told it to get away. And it did. But then it came back. Panicked, he called 911. Deputies arrived, filing what they listed as a suspicious person report. But everyone who saw Tim that night knew he wasn't talking about a person. His description was eerily detailed. A creature with long arms, a flat face, and, most disturbing of all, 6 fingers, bobwies on each hand. Even Cleveland County deputies admitted they were baffled. It blows my mind, Sergeant Mark Self said at the time. The stories of a Sasquatch have been in this county since the 1970s, killing chickens, breaking into houses. And what Tim described sounds just like those old reports. But Tim isn't the only North Carolinian with a story to tell.
By the way, the legend of the Sasquatch has been in Cleveland County since the 1970s. This time, the spotting came into 911 as a suspicious persons report.
What do you think?
Well, you know, this is the first time I've actually heard of the Bigfoot with blonde hair, but it's been so sunny out, you know, and it could have bleached out the hair a bit. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe he found a bottle of peroxide or something.
Possibly. Who knows? Yeah.
All right.
Meet John Bruner, a soft-spoken man who claims to have locked eyes with a Bigfoot for a full 10 seconds. It was huge, John says. Bipedal. No hair on its face, flat nose, stringy, matted hair on its body. And it smelled awful. Worse than a wet dog, almost like a musty, rotten hide. John's sighting happened during a weekend Bigfoot hunting expedition. It was the closest encounter he's ever had, and it left him shaken. The thing took 5 steps and covered 40 yards, John explains. 5 steps? That's not human. That's like something out of a superhero comic. Like LeBron James on steroids. Skeptics laughed, but John didn't care. He knows what he saw, and he's not alone. 911 dispatchers in the region have fielded calls from terrified residents reporting strange noises, knocks, and even screams echoing through the night.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, no, Ziggy, no!
Then there's Ebony Bird, whose encounter happened in the small town of Littleton on a chilly November evening in 2019. She was driving near Bowers Road, headed to the post office before it closed. I came to a stop sign, she says. I looked down the road, and there it was. Bigfoot. It was standing upright like a man, broad-shouldered, its arms hanging past its knees. Ebony was so stunned she kept driving, then turned around and went back. I couldn't find it again, she explains, but I know what I saw. It wasn't a man. It wasn't a bear. It was Bigfoot. Her cousin didn't believe her, laughing when she called to tell the story, but Ebony's aunt didn't laugh. She told me there have been sightings in that area before, Ebony says. That gave me chills. I wasn't crazy. Other people have seen it too. For Ebony, the moment was life-changing.
But it wasn't a human. It was not a human. So I turned around, I put my stuff in the post office, and I came back and I turned down here and I drove all the way down to where I saw it, and I couldn't find anything in sight. There's a church back on this side, and then there's a graveyard.
I've never been one to lie or make up stories, she says firmly. I was shaken for days after that. But I know what I saw: 3 different witnesses, 3 very different encounters, all pointing to one chilling truth. There is something roaming the woods of North Carolina, something massive, intelligent, and powerful enough to terrify even lifelong outdoorsmen. Whether it was a 10-foot creature chasing Tim's dogs, a massive shadow stepping toward John in the wilderness, or the broad-shouldered figure Ebony saw in the middle of the road, one thing is certain. The legend of Sasquatch in North Carolina is alive and well, and the people who have seen it will never forget the moment they came face to face with the unexplained. It's quiet in southern Alberta, back at a spot called Cow Corner. The trees stretch high, and the forest feels alive but gentle. He has been here a few months ago, leaving small gifts for those who visit these woods. Today he is curious to see what might have changed, and Blue is with him. The dog is eager, alert, and ready to explore. The air is soft, carrying a hint of smoke drifting from distant fires, and the forest smells fresh and earthy. It's peaceful, yet there is a sense of presence, something more moving quietly in the woods. As he starts down the narrow trail, the ground is damp, leaves glistening, and small branches tucked into the soil. Blue moves ahead, sniffing, ears twitching at sounds barely heard. Occasionally, a distant cow's low call echoes, or maybe it is something else moving quietly just beyond sight. The forest seems to speak in subtle ways: the bending of a branch, the soft tap of wood underfoot. Every small detail draws attention, making it clear that Cow Corner is full of life that cannot always be seen.
So this is interesting. Seeing something else here, guys. I'm spinning around. Okay, folks. Getting back in here to the thick of it. He's getting tuckered out already.
Reaching the gifting area, he notices small changes from the last visit. A Y-shaped stick wedged between trees, a sitting log not where remembered, and stones that may have been moved or taken. There is a gentle, musky scent in the air, a quiet reminder that the woods are visited. He leaves a few gifts: red plums, cranberries, and raw almonds, tokens of respect. Blue enjoys his treats, chasing squirrels and sometimes startling at noises far off in the trees. Each snap and tap keeps him alert, yet calm, aware that the forest has its own rhythm and stories.
I don't remember that. This is my sitting log right here. I don't remember that big log laying there. And then one little Blue.
The creek near the gifting site murmurs softly as they cross. Water always seems to attract life here, and the forest seems to pause around it. He takes a slow walk back into the thicker trees, noticing small patterns: stones in rectangles, slight clearings, and subtle signs of previous visitors. Blue moves carefully, sensing things that may be missed. As the light fades, smoke from distant fires drifts across the forest, softening shapes and colors. The woods feel alive, quietly observing them as they leave, the small gifts left behind as a sign of respect and curiosity. Heading back toward the main road, the shadows grow longer, and the sounds of snaps and taps continue softly on both sides of the trail. It's a peaceful conclusion to the visit, yet full of questions. Who else passes through Cow Corner? What messages do these small offerings hold? The forest keeps its secrets, but in these quiet walks, he witnesses a little of its magic. Blue and he move gently through the trees, leaving the woods as they found them, alive, mysterious, and quietly welcoming. The Trail to Bigfoot team moved quietly through the Florida forest, stepping softly over damp leaves and moss. The sun was low, casting long shadows across the swamp, and the air smelled rich with earth and water. They had come back to a familiar area, curious to see if anything had changed since their last visit. Their mission was simple: leave a few offerings, observe, and respect the forest around them. Near an old refrigerator tucked among the trees, the team carefully placed some food and a small tennis ball. Every movement was gentle, deliberate, meant to show curiosity without disturbance. The forest seemed to hold its breath, alive with soft rustles and the occasional distant bird call. Then, faint but clear, came a subtle knock from deeper in the trees. He paused, aware that something intelligent might be nearby, watching quietly from the shadows. They adjusted the cameras, capturing the scene in a wider view.
I just left some stuff. The main thing is we left a tennis ball behind.
I feel like I'm leaving offerings to the gods or something, you know?
We don't mean anybody no harm. That's all we just want.
Mosquitoes hovered around, but the team barely noticed. Their focus was on the forest's subtle sounds: a stick snapping, a leaf shifting, a quiet tap that might have been a Bigfoot investigating their offerings. The feeling of presence grew stronger, not threatening, but patient and aware, like an unseen guest observing their care and respect. Moving cautiously along a narrow path, they listened to every sound amplified by the thick forest. Another knock echoed, this one sharper, closer. The team stayed calm, allowing space for whatever was there to remain undisturbed. Moss draped from the trees, and the swamp's murky water reflected the fading light. The offerings remained untouched, yet the sense of acknowledgement lingered, a quiet confirmation that something had noticed their presence.
That's Mark moving. Now let's go ahead and go. All right, we're going to leave. I'll see about filming my rear.
The group began to step back toward a small clearing, scanning the shadows with care. Branches whispered overhead, water gurgled in the distance, and every rustle suggested life moving just out of sight. A gentle knock sounded again, reminding them of the patient observer nearby. It was not an aggressive presence, only curious and watchful, responding to the respect shown by the Trail to Bigfoot team. As the team moved slowly out of the dense swamp, they glanced back at the scattered offerings and the mossy forest floor. Nothing had been disturbed, yet the encounter left a lasting impression. The forest was quiet, holding its secrets, while faint taps and subtle sounds lingered in their memory. The team left with a sense of wonder, knowing that some mysteries are best met with patience, respect, and quiet curiosity. The swamp stretched behind them, shadows deepening as twilight set in. The Trail to Bigfoot team walked carefully, aware that these lands were home to creatures rarely seen. The faint knocks and whispers of the forest stayed with them, a gentle reminder of a presence that watches without haste, leaving more questions than answers, and an enduring respect for the mysteries of Florida's wilderness. Mount St. Helens is a land shaped by both destruction and mystery. On May 18, 1980, the volcano erupted with an impact 500 times greater than Hiroshima. Forests fell, wildlife vanished, entire valleys were buried. Yet even in this scarred landscape, whispers of Sasquatch have lingered for generations. Would a creature so elusive choose to hide where humans rarely tread, inside volcanic caves and forgotten ridges? The native peoples spoke of them as part of this land. Modern researchers still call this one of the most likely habitats in North America. The endless forests, the hidden lava tubes, and the remote ridges create a maze of places to vanish. For Bigfoot, it may be the perfect shelter.
Hundreds and thousands of years. Now, a lot of people have always considered Mount St. Helens as perfect Bigfoot habitat, as they have always been here for hundreds of years, if not thousands. The natives before us will tell you that they were absolutely here.
If you were to disappear for a lifetime, would you choose a place like this? Mike's journey took him deep into Ape Cave, one of the vast lava tubes beneath the mountain. The walls rose like a cathedral, ceilings nearly 30 feet high. The tunnel stretched for miles into darkness, cold and silent. Perfect cover for anything that does not wish to be found. Would you dare walk alone into a cave that swallows sound and light alike? Above ground, strangeness lingered. Mike discovered a massive boulder balanced atop a tree stump. Its size was impossible for a person to move by hand. Stranger still, sticks protruded oddly from beneath. Was this the work of nature, or something with strength far beyond ours?
So that was a gigantic boulder on top of a tree stump, and then seems to be some smaller trees sticking out underneath it that aren't a part of the tree stump. That's like one of the more bizarre things I've kind of seen. The rock is huge, sitting on top of a tree stump. I've never seen a boulder this big on top of a tree stump. I mean, this is huge. No human could lift that at all. Equipment could. And then what makes it even weirder is the stick coming out.
When you see something like this, do you assume an accident or intention? Later, Mike found an upside-down tree, roots in the air, trunk driven into the soil. Rangers suggested it may have tumbled from the cliffs, but the sheer force required left room for doubt. Some researchers believe such displays could be signs of dominance, territorial markers left by male Sasquatch. Could a creature claim the forest by moving trees like pawns on a board? Night fell at June Lake, a place both breathtaking and unsettling. Alone with only a campfire, Mike sat listening. Twice, he heard heavy objects slam into the ground nearby. Each time it felt as though something was testing his presence, close, deliberate, unseen.
It just happened again. I'm just gonna have to keep recording, which I can't do, obviously. I don't know if it was that rock down there, but it lands. Both times it's landed like my water bottle falls off.
What would you do if the unseen began to move just out of reach? Others had reported being followed here, footsteps pacing them in the dark. Some claimed they were escorted off trails by something walking upright. Alone, in silence, Mike tried a whoop into the night. No reply came, but the weight of possibility pressed in. Do you think silence in the forest is an answer in itself? By morning the rain cleared. Prints in the mud caught his eye, large odd impressions beside elk and deer tracks. Were they natural overlaps or something stranger? No certainty came, only the sense that the mountain was holding back more than it gave away.
I just spooked a deer. It scared the crap out of me. Man, now this is Bigfooting. This feels really squatchy. These logging areas, I think it probably strikes a nerve with a species that has learned to just be one with nature. Here we are coming in here just cutting everything down.
Could this wild land still hide the greatest mystery of all? Buckle up for a spine-chilling chase. In Animal Planet's video, Cliff Barackman and Bobo Fay storm the frozen, mist-veiled Himalayas, hunting the abominable snowman. With tough Sherpas and eerie village tales of a shadowy beast, they uncover haunting howls, strange tracks, and a heart-stopping eyewitness account that'll grip you tight. Cliff links the Yeti to Sasquatch after a villager spots it feasting on frogs, a weird clue tying these creatures across continents. Is this omnivore ruling the Himalayas' brutal peaks? Bobo and a Sherpa trek into a desolate Yeti hideout, where ancient legends whisper of a beast in the shadows.
Because Yeti call, they heard something respond.
What do you think that was?
Maybe Yeti.
Maybe Yeti?
Yeah.
Bobo's primal Yeti call pierces the fog, answered by a gut-wrenching roar from the jagged peaks. "That's no human or animal I know," he mutters, voice shaking. The Himalayan silence throbs with a hidden presence, lurking just beyond the mist.
These leaves make it hard to see.
Yeah.
Cow. It's all cows.
We found 2 sets of footprints, not like a Sherpa foot, not very long, 8 or 10 inches, but very, very wide with a huge toe. So we recognize them as something different.
At a lake steeped in Yeti lore, Bobo and his Sherpa find eerie footprints, 8 to 10 inches wide, with toes unlike a human or bear. Unlike Sasquatch's big toe tracks, these stand apart, sparking chills.
Yes.
Come here. Stop. Look. Oh. Toes.
Yeah, the Yeti.
You think so?
Yeah, this one is the Yeti.
You think that might be Yeti?
Rain blurs edges, but the Sherpa's tales of ancestral sightings ignite the find.
So we have Nuri Sherpa. Namaste, Nuri Sherpa. Huh?
And this is where it happened.
Yes.
Okay.
It was in the wintertime, right before sunset. I was walking the trail home, by myself, carrying vegetables from my farm. I came to a bend and saw the Yeti only 15 feet from where I was standing.
Yeti or bear trick? The question burns.
I'm gonna put a scale item down there. I get the tape measure.
Nuri Sherpa's story hits like a thunderbolt. Hauling potatoes on a desolate trail, he locked eyes with a 6-foot, dark gray beast just 15 feet away, broad, hairy, no bear or human. Both fled in a flash. Cliff backs Nuri's raw, untainted tale, cementing the Yeti's elusive mystery.
Could you have him describe what the creature looked like, please?
कस्तो देखिन्थ्यो अरे?
छोटो थियो त्यो अनुमानले डर लाग्यो अनि डर लागेपछि त राम्रो हेर्नै पाएन नि
Dark gray.
I know some of the other villagers have seen bears in these hills. We just want to make sure, at that distance, is there any chance that it could have been a bear or even a person?
बा त्यही छ कि भनेर डराउँदै थियो भाइ तिनीहरूले.
This pulse-pounding episode weaves chilling cries, Bobo's tracks, and Nuri's encounter into a thrilling Yeti hunt. Battling icy peaks with Sherpa wisdom and tales of a beast stalking the fog, the team fuels the enigma. The Himalayas' ancient whispers, eerie footprints, and fleeting glimpses dare us to ask, what's really out there in those frozen heights? In the deep, dark woods of the southern United States, wildlife like deer, turkey, and bear roam freely. But beyond these familiar creatures, something far more unexpected has made its existence known. A creature that residents whisper about, but few have truly seen.
A lot of people have their dogs killed, had their chickens killed. I know a family down around Red Bluff area down by Columbia. They lost 7 or 8 geese. A coyote is not going to mess with a goose.
The documentary begins with the mention of the chilling incidents from the Red Bluff area, where families have suffered attacks that cannot be explained. One household story is how they lost nearly a dozen geese in a single night. The birds weren't torn apart like a predator might do in a hurry. Instead, something, or shall we say, someone, had plucked the geese, laying the feathers in a very neat pile before vanishing with the bodies. A coyote, the locals tried to believe, wouldn't bother geese in a group, let alone exhibit such calculated behavior. But the creepiness increases.
They actually heard something beating on the side of their house one night, and something peeked in on their 8-year-old daughter and looked in the window at their daughter. The daughter described it as a big gorilla-looking thing.
Soon, we hear the story of a family in North Mississippi whose home was not only stalked but also physically attacked. One night, loud banging on the side of their house woke them up. What followed was even more terrifying, as their 8-year-old daughter saw a creature looking in through her bedroom window. Described as a beast resembling a gorilla, it had to hunch to see through the chest-height windowsill.
Now, the bottom of the windowsill, is about chest high. So this thing was leaned over and hunched over and looking in the window.
Its interest wasn't just for a second or so. The very next night, something returned with more violent intentions. That follows the moment that has shocked Bigfoot hunters to this day.
Something had gone out there and picked up an outside air conditioning unit and threw it 30 feet across the yard. The first dent in the ground was 20 feet away. So something threw this thing 20 feet in the air before it hit the ground and rolled another 10 feet.
The family's outdoor air conditioning unit, which is a heavy, grounded machine, was thrown 30 feet across the yard. The first impact mark was found 20 feet from where it originally was installed, suggesting it had been thrown through the air before coming to a halt. Whatever or whoever did that had to possess immense strength and, more importantly, an opposable thumb to even be able to grab the unit. Bears, despite being a constant in Mississippi, just don't have the agility or the temperament for such calculated action. Locals know this. They've seen bears. They know what a bear is capable of doing and what not. These are not once-in-a-while events, but part of a growing pattern in the South.
And it takes an opposable thumb to be able to pick something up and throw it. A bear can't, it's not going to pick it up. It would swat it away. And there are a lot of bears in Mississippi. They are making a big comeback, but this was not a bear.
Families are now hesitant to even step outside after dusk without a firearm. The forests they once explored freely now inspire a primal fear. These are not stories once told to scare off kids. These are testimonies from men and women who have lived through something inexplicable. And as one seasoned witness says, "A human didn't do this, a bear couldn't do this, but something sure did." The Marble Mountains, a rocky, roadless stretch of wilderness in far northern California, seem very breathtaking, but only some know that they can actually be very unforgiving. With no cell phone signals, no roads, and no help if things go wrong, it's not a place you explore casually. It's a place for those who trust the land, or those who are ready to risk not coming back. Years ago, Wilson did just that. Invited on a multi-night pack trip into the Marble Mountains by an outdoorsy woman he met on a camping trip, he couldn't say no. After all, how often does someone get an invite to explore deep wilderness with horses, clear blue skies, and just one companion?
I remember everything was really quiet, which wasn't uncommon for there. All of a sudden, that silence was broken by a deep, loud, throaty roar.
But what began as a serene adventure gradually turned creepy. On their final morning, while washing the breakfast dishes behind an alpine lake, the peaceful atmosphere was violently shattered as a guttural howl sliced through the canyon. It was so loud, so primal that it echoed across the walls of the canyon like something out of this world. Our narrator, frozen in shock, was struck by the impossible quality of the sound. It wasn't a bear, it wasn't a wolf, and it definitely wasn't human. He describes the howl as something he'd never heard in the wild, except perhaps the howler monkeys he once encountered in Costa Rica. But this was Northern California, not Central America.
The howler monkeys in Costa Rica did not sound like any animal I've ever heard around here. I remember a long time ago listening to the Art Bell radio show. Some people sent him some recordings of what were supposed to be Bigfoot yells.
He recalls something similar, an audio clip played on Art Bell's legendary paranormal radio show. Recordings sent in by listeners who claimed they captured Bigfoot yells in the wild. The similarity sent chills down his spine then, and again now, just mentioning it. What's more disturbing is his companion's reaction. She said nothing. She simply stood up, began packing the horses, and didn't speak a word during the long ride back to civilization.
I could tell she was just on a mission to get out of there. It wasn't until we were back at the trailhead, we loaded up the horses into the trailer, we were back on the road, safely driving back home.
We do get the idea that this sound was something extraordinary. After days of easygoing conversation, laughter, and friendship, the woman suddenly made a decision, focused only on getting out. Only once they reached the safety of the truck and began driving did she finally speak. That's when she confessed to a previous Bigfoot encounter she had that had left her shaken. And just before this trip, she had binged Bigfoot shows, triggering her old fears. The howl, she admitted, came from the very ridge they had to cross to exit the valley. She hadn't panicked because he hadn't.
That's when she told me about a Bigfoot encounter she had a few years earlier. She was out in the woods, hunting, I think. She laid up against a tree to take a nap, woke up to something running into the woods.
But if she'd been alone, she said, she would have completely lost it. She made another startling revelation. She had known from the start that he owned firearms and that he would likely bring them. It was, in hindsight, one of the reasons she asked him to join her. She didn't want to go into Bigfoot country alone, not without someone who came adequately armed. By the end, he doesn't believe it was Bigfoot. He doesn't even jump to conclusions. But the question hangs in the air like fog clinging to pine. If not Bigfoot, then what? On May 24, 2025, a group of experienced river guides from Colorado River Expeditions jumped on what was supposed to be a routine first trip of the season. Their aim? Navigate the upper Colorado River, reconnect with nature, and scout the route ahead for the summer's rafting tours. But what they filmed on that quiet morning has given rise to online debates, triggered Bigfoot believers, and chilled even hardened skeptics.
It was moving, I saw it move.
Yeah, I saw it move too.
It's a bear, you think? Maybe no. No, they can't climb out.
I don't know, I'll turn around.
No, okay, it's moving. It's
Where is it? Do you see it?
Yeah, I do. That brown against the tree.
Dude, it's like hidden in the tree.
It's like see the slant right there? Yeah, follow the slant.
As their raft drifted through a patch of green riverbank, one of the guides spotted movement on the far shore. His voice trembles as he mentions it is moving, not with fear, but with the excitement of someone seeing something they can't explain. Another voice quickly follows. I saw it move. It's like a berry thing, maybe? At first, they think it could be a bear or a deer, maybe. But then the tone shifts. The disbelief is immediate as the experienced river guides mention that this is not how bears behave. Their instincts, honed from years in the wild, tell them this isn't normal. The camera struggles to lock onto the figure as it moves between the trees. It's partially hidden, covered by branches and shadows. Someone points in a direction for others to see, but it's hard to see with the naked eye. One of the guides uses a smartphone to zoom in. The creature appears bigger than a man, standing unnaturally still, watching.
Bigger than a normal size man. Dude! Oh, it's creepy.
Look at my phone, you can see it.
Wait, I want to see it in the phone.
I want to see too.
Oh my goodness.
Dude, that's weird.
Guys, come look in the phone, you can see it.
It's the tension between visibility and obscurity that makes the footage so important. The figure doesn't move like a bear, and it doesn't resemble a human wearing his camping gear. It has a broad, tall, dark form. From a distance, it almost blends in with the rocky outcropping behind it, until you see it move slightly, as if adjusting its stance. Then, suddenly, silence. The thing stands motionless again. What's most telling is the reaction of the guides. These aren't YouTubers looking to stage a viral moment. These are professionals trained to handle dangerous grounds and unpredictable wildlife. When they start nervously laughing, calling others over, it's the genuine sound of people processing something impossible.
Plotting against us. We come in peace.
We come in
I can't zoom in any more than this.
I know. The arrow's gonna keep flying down.
They do appear to be joking, yet there's a quiet seriousness in their voices. They are not sure what they are looking at. The camera can't zoom any further. The figure remains at a distance, present, still, and oddly aware. Someone urges the others to look at his clip, and that's where the footage ends abruptly, incomplete, and yet deeply disturbing. The clip has gained thousands of views, not because it's dramatic, but because it is very subtle. There's no howl, no roar, no blurry sprinting shadow. Instead, it's a moment captured in time, something watching, something large, and something one might not be able to explain. And in Bigfoot research, those moments that are quiet, unscripted, raw, are sometimes the ones that haunt you the longest. Every snap of a branch, every haunting growl leaves the question, was this just a legend, or something real lurking in the forest? Tonight's encounter may be some of the clearest evidence of Bigfoot yet. Share your thoughts and experiences below. And if these stories grip you, show your support with a like and subscribe. The search for the unknown continues.